We're in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street. Call somebody, tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house. I'd like you to get on your feet right now and welcome the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Hug the person next to you, tell them you love them. If it had not been for the Lord on my side, tell me where would I be? Where would I be? He kept my enemies away. He let the sun shine through a cloudy day. God brought me in the cradle of his love when he knew I had to die and scorn. So if it had not been for the Lord on my side, tell me where would I be? Tell me where would I be? Tell me where would I be? Oh, where would I be? Give a hand our musical director, Gravon Neal. Give him a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be here another Saturday morning for you that are here live at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. And for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB in New York, and for you that are watching live stream around the country on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We're happy to be with you another Saturday where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy. And to all of those that have participated so far. Let me join in what has already been stated, but I want to emphasize that we are very, very proud of you that participated last week in National Action Network's National Convention. It was the most well-attended convention in the history of the organization. And the thing that was impressive to me about it, we had over 6,000 people come through last year, but we also had President Obama last year. We had over 6,000, almost 7,000 this year, and this was just on the organization. Yeah, we had big names, but we didn't promote the names. It showed the strength of the organization. And every workshop packed, every session packed, and people leaving there ready for work. You ought to give yourselves a big hand. 34 states, almost 7,000 people, and it was substantive. You had to hear big names, but y'all know they was coming. We didn't advertise. We are building based on where we going, not who is showing up. And I'm thinking that that is something that made us godly proud. I'm going to get into the action points of where we are going. And then everybody that was a delegate, everybody that signed up within 60 days are going to get written synopsis of what we agreed to in each of our action points based on the convention. I don't believe in convening folk just to be convenient. We want to know what it was. That's why we call this the National Action Network.
For y'all in Radio Land, that's Mama T. Mama T from Chicago's here, y'all. She been here helping all week, and she here, and she helps me preach. You know, some folk do solos, but when Mama T in town, I do duet sermons. She work as hard as I do. Both of us be tired when I get finished. Give her a hand from Chicago name, Mama T. Now, let me say, before I get into my action points in my message, I want to congratulate our chairman, Reverend W. Franklin Richardson, celebrating 40 years as pastor of Grace Baptist Church. Give him a big hand, 40 years. He's had services all week. They will conclude tomorrow. I preached Wednesday night, but Reverend Waldron was there Sunday night, on and on and on. And certainly he has built and developed that church into a model church for the whole black church in this country and Christendom around the world. And we are proud of him, and he has served this organization as chairman. He's an on-hands chairman, raises money, helps set policy. He is the personification of a Renaissance man in the pulpit, and we're glad to have him. I want to also, during the convention, were the funeral services of Dr. Ben Joachim. We could not go in mass. I couldn't go because of our convention. We were represented by Attorney Hardy, but I want to thank Professor Smalls and others, that Dr. Jeffries, that made that service go well and respectfully. And Reverend Herbert Daughtry, who was there. And I want to announce today, you know, we had the back Dr. Ben's seat here at the House of Justice, and no one's allowed to sit in that seat but him. And we are going to have the Dr. Clark House. We're going to give them the Dr. Ben's seat, so there'll always be a chair in memory of Dr. Ben. We also, on Monday, I, among others, attended the viewing and funeral of Dr. Gardner Taylor, one of the great giants of all time. They say dean of black preachers. He was the dean of preachers everywhere. And one of the things that was very telling to me, and I've been talking now for the last year and a half, one of my dreams, and I'm not just dreaming, I've already made some substantive steps toward it, is I'm going to build a civil rights museum in New York. We don't have one. And there must be a museum that tells the story of Adam Powell and the Harlem boycott and the movements around A. Philip Randolph and all the way through to Reverend Daughtry, Black United Front, to No Justice, No Peace with all of us. Because let me tell you something, all of the civil rights museums are basically in the South and tell about the Southern movement. But there was a movement in the North. The Harlem bus boycott led by Adam Powell happened before the Montgomery boycott. But there's nowhere. One of the things, I've been blessed with both my daughters on their own have become extremely involved in activism. And I'm very proud of that. A lot of folk have challenges with their children when they get known. But my daughters never had no drug problems and none of that, and got involved in the movement. And you don't say that till they get certain age, but now that they're in their upper 20s, I can say, well, they did mess up. You don't want to say the 18 because tomorrow you pick up the paper and something happens. If they go left now, they old or dumb, been gone, can't nobody put that on me, so I can brag now. But one of the things that was absent is that I could tell them about Garvey, but I can't even bring them and show them where Garvey had an institution left. Malcolm, finally his children got the Audubon up. And great part, other than the church, which had other pastors after. So I want to make sure we have an institution that tell our story and the story of other movements in the North that was inspired by the black civil rights movement, the women's movement, the gay movement, all in the North. Where's the institution that does that? Now, the reason that becomes important is this week we funeralized Dr. Ben last Friday, Gardner Taylor Monday. You heard more in the media about Percy Sledge dying, and I loved Percy Sledge, but he had one hit. Will a man love a woman? They are, and I'm not taking anything away from his great artist, but they are more comfortable in us being showmen than theologians and historians and thinkers and scholars. That's why you gotta be very careful. You read bios on or even profiles on me. They love to talk about my relationship, which is real clear and real deep to me, with James Brown. But what is personal and emotional for me, they do to discard that I grew up in the movement. I wouldn't have known James Brown had I not been youth director of Breadbasket and lead National Youth Movement. But that's to dismiss you as just a showman. I grew up under Bishop Washington and Bill Jones and Jesse Jackson, Herb Daughtry, and met James Brown. How do you wipe all that out and go to James Brown? But the subliminal message is to try to tell, well, he's just a showman. Rather than he was always an activist and a civil rights leader. Be real careful now. The subliminal seduction is what creates an image. Now, that's why I want to build a museum where we tell our story for ourselves and where young students and scholars and others can come and study movements they didn't know about and come and understand where this came from. Women's movement, all of that. You can't talk about the women's movement without talking about Shirley Chisholm. Well, where you gonna go and dig down in that? And we knew Shirley. I was Shirley Chisholm's youth director. All of that we gonna build. So part of my motive is to make sure that we straighten out that story. It was an insult to me that on Tuesday morning, I get up and not one newspaper covered Gardner Taylor's funeral. Not one. There's not a preacher in America with more profile, more importance, and more historic significance than Gardner Taylor. Not one newspaper, not one television camera at his funeral. 500 preachers. It's an insult to us. But if we don't tell our story, we won't even know when we've been insulted. That's why out of all of the sessions, governor, mayor, secretary of this, secretary of that, cast of empire, all of that that we had last week. The two I was telling Kirsten, and I spent a lot of time with our younger leaders that have become leaders in their own right in the movement, because I try to give them the benefit of my view as those that raised me gave me the benefit of theirs. And I was telling them that the two sessions that meant the most to me was the children of the movement that Dominique organized. And don't be passing him no cookies up in here. I know they be passing bags around here, Reverend Daughtry, and I know Phoenix is be sitting up here passing cookies and chicken in a bag. Children in the Movement panel meant a lot to me. Dominique organized it and had the daughter of Dr. King, daughter of Malcolm X, son and daughter of Reverend Dr. Ralph David Abernathy, and daughter of Reverend James Orange. And they talked about how it was to be the kids, and Ashley and her, with me, how to be the kids and the children and what they lived through as a family. That meant a lot. And then my conversation that Kirsten John Foy hosted of me and Reverend Jackson, where Jesse Jackson talked about how he knew me since I was 12 and what I'm doing now, he and Bill Jones and others raised us to do. And so you'd understand the context of where Nan came from. And those were the two things that meant the most to me. Because if you don't understand the context of what you operate, you won't understand what you're doing. So when folks say to you, well, I don't understand Rev Mal doing this, well, if you understood my background, I'm doing exactly what I was raised to do. Dwight McKee, who was youth director in Chicago of Operation Breadbasket while I was in New York, sat down with Rachel Nordling and was telling her the history. And as long as she's been and closer she's been, she understood better. Sandy Rallies started Operation Breadbasket in '66. I'm continuing a tradition that Jesse and them started in '66. Bill Jones used to do from '69 to the early '70s. I just picked it up. But there is decades of history in this. Press just, oh, well, doing something so we can get in Sunday's paper. No, there's a tradition here. You show your ignorance, not mine trying to maneuver. And just like I was telling some of my Ugawa brothers. Well, I don't understand. You with the establishment now, you got a TV show and can go to the White House. Well, Andy Young was Jimmy Carter's ambassador. Jesse Jackson was the envoy to Africa for Bill Clinton and had his own show on CNN. So how, in my generation, I got a show on MSNBC and can talk to Obama, I ain't no ambassador or envoy. I am in line with the folk I grew up under. I didn't grow up under running around pouting and cussing like you. I work with folk like you, but I come out of a tradition that I am in. So now you can disagree with it, but don't act like I'm out of character. You just out of context. I went from just having a weekly show to me having a daily show. Somebody come behind me gonna do something bigger than that. And that's what you expect to do. Like right now, as we see a lot of these young groups, I had on my show, daily show yesterday, Tamika Mallory, who was our executive director. She's out with the Justice League. 250-mile march to Washington around justice. Reverend Daughtry went and joined them. I couldn't get there because I've been back and forth between the Loretta Lynch thing and the Charleston thing. but I put them on radio because she is one of my daughters. She come out of the movement. I don't know where they go. Every tree has to have branches. Every branch has limbs. We are limb of what Bill Jones and Jesse put in me. They're going to be people that branch off my limb. If you don't have that, you have a dead tree. Now, last Saturday, after the morning session, first thing is in the Measure the Movement session, which was my third favorite, the president of the National Urban League, president CEO of the NAACP, president of Black Women's Roundtable, representative of Legal Defense Fund, all got up and reported on what they committed last year and what they did and what they commit this year. And all of us said we're going to start with the confirmation of Loretta Lynch to be Attorney General. $159 days. And she has not been given a date for a confirmation vote. Never in the history of this country has the President of the United States nominated an Attorney General and they would not take the vote. They've confirmed judges, they've done all kind of stuff in the last 5 months and will not take the vote because they know we have the votes to make her the Attorney General. So we all stood together. The faith leaders have gone to the Majority Leader McConnell's office and confronted him. Our Executive Director, Janae Ingram, who's done a great job, has called for a fast, not a hunger strike, a fast. A hunger strike is you go until you drop. Fast is some are taking Wednesday, some taking Thursday. Everybody's fasting a day and rotating every week to dramatize it. It's raised a lot of national attention. And we, the men, are going to join this week if we don't get a date. The pressure worked so to now Harry Reid, the minority leader, is saying that he's going to use a parliamentary procedure. But what I'm saying is that we are prepared to go in direct action. We cannot sit with what is going on in this country, from terrorism to police misconduct to what's going on in terms of mass incarceration, and not have a confirmed Attorney General. It is an insult to the people in this country. Now, what is telling, look at this week. Saturday afternoon, I left the convention, went to Charleston. Right away, one of the tabloids here, family didn't want Sharpton to come. The son got on the phone with Associated Press and said, that's a lie. I went in there Saturday night and met with Congressman Clyburn and others. I want y'all to understand what happened here.
Yes, sir. Context.
One of the reasons that I went, aside from to give my sympathy to the family and preach at the church, this big article in the New York Times this morning. I want y'all to watch this. Saturday before last, I get a call from Elder James Johnson, who heads North Charleston chapter National Action Network. He said there'd been a shooting here, a policeman told me the story. He said they say that the man was wanted for child support and had grabbed at the policeman's taser. I said, all right, we'll follow it up. They had a vigil that night. North Charleston Name had a vigil that night for the man. Next day was organizing in the churches. Reverend Nelson Rivers, that heads our religious affairs nationally, pastors the Charity Missionary Baptist Church there. So Nan is in this from the afternoon it happened. He got shot 9:30 Saturday morning. I got the call around 3 o'clock that afternoon. Now, Monday they come with a video. Among the people that got the video to the family was Elder Johnson, our chapter leader. So the press asking, why am I there? I was already there. Nan helped from day one with the case. But here's what I want you to watch. One of the reasons I went, one, we were involved, two, talked to the brother of the victim, three, talked to the lawyers, had an extensive meeting with them there. Met with Congressman Clyburn and dealt with the state officials that are now fast forwarding a bill to require all police to wear cameras. I wanted to also raise one thing. I want you to hit your rewind button. Last year, there was a meeting at City Hall in New York where there was a gathering with the mayor and police commissioner, faith and civil rights leaders. Reverend Daughtry and I were there. In the meeting, they said we're going to have 4 people heard by the press, then we're going to close the door and have a meeting. Kirsten John Foy was there. The 4 people that were going to speak were the mayor, the police commissioner, me, because I was leading the march and working with the family, and the councilwoman of the district, which was the reason we sit up front. Press made the whole thing about why was I sitting up front? Because the speakers was up front. You don't speak from the back, you speak from the front. You know, some stuff is just so ignorant that I don't even respond. You know, I'm from Brooklyn, but my mom's from Alabama. I would call things ignorant. She said, no, it's just ignorant. She just dropped the vowel out, it's just ignorant. Why he's sitting up there with the committee? Because he's going to speak, that's why he's sitting up there. Everybody else ain't speaking. If they were one of the speakers, Debbie Rose would sit up there too, because she was going to speak. With your ignorant self. But watch this. When I spoke, yes, sir. I ain't made the point yet, Mama. I'm gonna need that yes, sir, in about a minute. I'm gonna get to it. When I spoke, many of you will remember, I said that you are not going to stop this until you start perk walking policemen that cause abuse. Remember I said that? And that what you need to do as a result of Eric Gardner and Eric Gardner's wife, with her and Mama's here right now and was with us all the way through the convention, is you need to start perk walking bad cops. Press went crazy. How dare he say that? Why, how did he get in there anyway? Rachel Nordlinger must have jammed him and put him in there. That's what they said. How many of y'all remember that? You remember that headline? Well, let's go back now to last week. When the video came out in Charleston, what did the mayor and the police chief in a southern city where the Confederate flag is still flying on the state capitol, they perk walked the cop and arrested him on the video. The misinformation given that you need a grand jury and a full investigation to make an arrest. You do not need that. If you have a crime and a prima facie case, the police can make an arrest. And what they did in Charleston showed what I said about New York and about Zimmerman in Sanford was absolutely the law. You make the arrest, you do the charge, and then the DA decides if there's going to be an indictment. That's why I wanted to underscore that mayor and that police chief, who have a bad record, by the way, with blacks, but they did that right. They showed what the bar ought to be. If they could take a video in North Charleston, South Carolina, down the block from where we were sold on stands as slaves, and take a video and make an arrest, then what is the excuse in liberal New York? Some people said to me in Charleston, well, man, they had to do it because they had a video. I said, we got a video on Ghana. We got a video where a man said 11 times, I can't breathe. They didn't have to do it. They did it because it was legally right, and I was legally right when I said it in City Hall in New York. Now write that in tomorrow's paper. Arrest there. Come on. Then you go right to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man shoot a man in the back that ain't even a cop. A play cop on the weekends. 73 years old. And they give him a .357 Magnum. And he get on TV and got his story mixed up. They say, well, you made a mistake. Yeah. How you made a mistake? I thought I was going for my taser and it was the gun. Well, where do you carry your taser? I carry it up here in the vest. Where you carry your gun? Down here. Well, how did you make a mistake going down here when your taser's up here? And you want to know why we want an attorney general straight? Because we want justice in this country. All we ever wanted was justice and to play the game by one set of rules. So our action points, we got to get Loretta Lynch in, and we have to put pressure on this Garner case. The feds have got to come, and we've got to deal with the jurisdictional threshold of what makes a federal case in civil rights. Because if we don't change the threshold, they will continue to say, yeah, it's bad, but we can't reach the threshold. We got to deal with voting rights. We've got to deal with education disparities. When you see the printout, we intend to hit the ground running. And the evidence is before we can even get out the convention, we were in Charleston, on into Washington for Loretta Lynch. This week, this is not some procrastination network. This is the Action Network. Somebody asked you, yeah, where Mal and them had all them people down to Sheridan. Wonder what he gonna do. He already doing it. He on the plane on his way to Charleston right now. All you gotta do is follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I'm gone. Before you can recharge your battery, I'm another town. It's serious business with me. Now,
Me too.
what you also must do is you must get out of what I call the tabloid cycle.
Come on. Context.
Too many of us. I talked to Reverend Charles Williams this morning, head of our national expansion and has the Saturday rallies in Detroit. He and Kirsten and K.W. Tulis, my sons growing up in the movement here like I grew up under, I done got old enough to have sons and daughters in the movement. And Mama T said, thank the Lord. And I was telling Williams this morning, you've got to be able to operate on a daily setting, but looking at a historic perspective. If you operate on a daily rhythm without looking at a historic view, you will end up reacting rather than acting in a broader context. If you look at a broader view of how we were brought here and subjected as slaves, we were enslaved. We were not slaves in Africa. We were enslaved. Don't teach your kids we were slaves. We were enslaved. We came out of slavery and was re-enslaved under other names as indentured servants. They created criminal law enforcement to catch us and make us indentured servants. We fought our way out through reform movements and black church, built our own colleges. In the span of all of that, here we are now in the second decade of the 21st century. If you look at our road from 1619 to 2015, then what are we supposed to be doing and what is the meaning of that struggle? That's a little deeper than looking at yesterday's tableau. So we get more caught up in style and gossip and madness than saying at this stage in our struggle, with a black president, a black attorney general, yet we're doubly unemployed and they're shooting us down in the street. This is what we need to do, connected to the generations that preceded us. If you look at it that way, then it don't matter whether Sharpton or Daughtry or Joe Blow called the march. What matters is we need to be marching. What matters is somebody need to be sitting in the White House challenging on legislation. Somebody need to be in the Congress like Adam Powell was, dealing with those issues. Get out of your personality daily fix and deal with something bigger than you. Story in the Bible of the Exodus. People wasn't sitting on the side of the road reading the Jerusalem Post. Ain't nowhere in the Bible quoted what the Jerusalem Gazette had to say about Moses' sandals. They talk about 7 plagues, Pharaoh, Passover, let the children go. God made dry land, Red Sea, marched on to the promised land through the Jordan. Anybody caught up on Moses' hairstyle? Joshua's suit? What you talking about don't, that's why I'm gonna build this museum. What you talking about won't mean nothing in the span of time. Are you going to Reverend Al March? Or you going to Bahubu's March? Go to both of them. Because history gonna say that when we were being shot down in the back, when they wouldn't confirm a black woman as the Attorney General, the children of those that marched in Selma The children of those that marched in Birmingham, the children of those that boycotted Harlem buses, what did they do? And I don't want history to say that when it was our time at bat, we blew it. When it was our day, we failed. Because everything is going to be history. That's why I tell a lot of young folk in name, asking them to build a huddle, one of the biggest youth things going. You got to read history. Don't let one of the most diabolically negative things they are trying to do is get our young folk to dismiss their past. Don't listen to old school. You don't need the old heads, everything. They're trying to make you like Zeus. Zeus was a Greek god that was born full grown. He was impressive. He was radiant. But there's a problem when you're Zeus. You have no relationship with nothing. Don't have a mama, daddy. Don't have no roots. You're connected to nothing. Your strength comes from your connection. Don't let them cut off your connection. Because if they can cut off your connection, then they can tell you who you are because you don't know who you are. Reason I knew what to do when I got a certain age is I was raised and connected by F.D. Washington and Bill Jones and Jesse Jackson, Herb Darty. So you could, when I started fighting Ed Koch, he couldn't tell me who I was because I knew who I was. You must be connected to a broader movement. But the past, don't live in the past. Don't imitate the past. Be instructed by the past. Because those that are instructed by a creative past can create in the present to go with the future. But don't dismiss it because the only thing, I was listening the other day, Rubio, the Republican, announced he's running for president. And he said that another candidate from yesterday, referring to Hillary Clinton, is trying to bring us back to yesterday. And everybody clapped and thought that was cute. But let me tell you something. The only thing that makes yesterday yesterday is today. Am I right? But let me give you a secret. At midnight today gonna be yesterday. Don't get so quick to condemn yesterday, because you're gonna be yesterday in a minute. You can't live on tomorrow, you got to live today. And today was based on yesterday. Today is a hope for tomorrow, but it is based on yesterday. I am who I am because somebody yesterday made me. Somebody tomorrow couldn't make me. My mama and daddy made me yesterday for today. I hope to see tomorrow. They want you living on what don't exist yet, because then they can manipulate you into being something else. Well, no, you with the new thing. Well, what is that? And who's in charge of that? We are. We're in charge. So we'll take backward and call it progressive. We'll take nothing and act like it's something. And then when we get you disconnected, we'll dismiss you. Because we really weren't on your side. We wanted to use you to dismantle a mentality of your own connection. That's why I see this in the context of, well, why y'all have all of the victims there? We had the family of Michael Brown, family of Eric Garner, mother of Tamir Rice in Cleveland, Amadou Diallo's mama, everybody there. Because the context of what we fight is the pain and suffering of real people. This ain't no theory to us. This is the reality of what people got to go through every day. Long after the cameras are gone, they wake up and have lost their husband and their son. Long after they quit writing about, they had an article in yesterday's Times about how if you want to understand the shooting in Oklahoma, you got to go back to the 70s, to the shooting in Queens of Clifford Glover. This was in yesterday's New York Times. See, they go back to history. Now let me tell you how smart they try to be. They write the story of Clifford Glover, but don't mention Daughtry who led that fight. Because they want to act like they discovered wrong. No, he made them deal with the wrong in Clifford Glover. But if they can take you out of it, then young folk will not understand that you must connect to a struggle that preceded you and will go forward after you. That's why I tell Kirsten and them that the greatest honor you can have is the elders of your own movement say, you got it now. Nothing meant more to me as a preacher than Bill Jones saying, you was on this morning. I didn't care what seminarians said, they know what I was doing, no how. But he was who I grew up under, and F.D. Washington. Jesse's saying that's great how y'all handle that. You must be connected to that. And in that connection, you must dig deep in your roots because your strength is there. You ever feel something deep in you and you don't know why and can't get rid of it? That is something God put in your DNA to fulfill. That's why I tell folk all the time. Folks say, well, Sharpton out there now on TV and radio and go to the White House, he don't have to do what he's doing. Yeah, I do, because I wake up every morning, that's what the only thing makes me at peace, is to answer my call to fight for justice. And if you're called, you got to do what you was called to do. And let me tell you this, and I'll let you go. Don't confuse, as we pursue this action agenda, don't confuse the spiritual movement with your theoretical religiosity. What do I mean by that? Y'all are caught up in your doctrines rather than in the spirit. There is a difference between being spiritual and being religious. Religious means you know chapter 4 of Galatians, chapter 16. Spiritual means you know that God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. I may not know what chapter and verse is in, but I know the movement of the Spirit. Difference between me and other preachers is they quote the scriptures, I live the scriptures. I don't talk about Moses, I'm on my own exodus with Moses. Sister stopped me not long ago and said to me, Reverend Al, I said, yeah. She said, in the rallies when we bring in new members, you sing Amazing Grace. I said, yeah. She said, now you know that was written by a slave master. I said, Yeah, I never argued with her, because she's right. John Houston wrote the song, but he didn't write the song. Because the reality is, John Houston had been a naval operator. He ended up being a slave trader. In 1748, he went to Africa to pick up some more slaves. On the banks of West Africa, he heard them humming this melody. And it was annoying to them. The slaves were just humming this melody. They chained them. They shackled them. They put them in the pit of the slave ship and headed toward over the Atlantic. They got around Ireland and they got in a storm. The storm started ripping the ships apart. The storm started tossing them back and forth. And they heard the slaves down in the belly of the ship humming that same melody they hummed in Africa. They went down and took the shackles off, saying they got to help us throw out the stuff and balance this boat. And the slaves went out. One of them said, let's kill them. Another said, no, don't kill them. Let's save the ship. And they saved the ship. When they finally got through the storm, John Houston kept hearing that melody of the slaves in his ear. He just put words to a melody he didn't write. And he wrote Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. Why did he write Amazing Grace? Because whatever they humming is a lot deeper than what my religiosity is. It must be some amazing stuff they got. That even shackled, even enslaved, they could believe in this God anyhow. Why do I sing that song? It's because when I was growing up in Brownsville, and Mama had to feed us with food stamps, and I had to stay at the post office box on the 1st and the 16th to get the welfare check to make sure no one broke in our mailbox. Mama used to hum a melody out here in the morning. I never did get the name of what Mama was humming, but a lot of us grew up with our mamas humming a song that songwriters didn't copyright. There's a spirit that God will give you that'll make a way out of no way. There's a spirit that God will give you that the world can't record, but this spirit brought us from the outhouse to the White House, from disgrace to amazing grace, from down to up. I'm flowing with the Spirit of God. Up, you mighty race. Up, you mighty race. Up, you mighty race. You can, if you will, stand up, be up, look up. This is our day. This is our time. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Singing like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Yeah, we want justice. Got to have justice. We want justice. Everybody singing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. I'm open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today that didn't never join National Action Network. You heard us on radio, see us on TV, but never became a member of the organization. If you're here this morning We want you to be part of us and work with us. Just come down either side to me and let me sign you up this morning. Everybody singing. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Hey, singing with the feeling. Singing with the feeling. Singing with the feeling. All right. We want justice. Got to have justice. We want justice. Yeah. Everybody now. Everybody sing. Everybody singing. Yeah. All right. Gonna raise our offering. Raise our offering quickly. I announce on the radio every day, if you just give me 9 to 11 on Saturday morning, I'll let you out, but you'll have instruction for the week. I'm gonna be out in 6 minutes. Nice day, y'all. Do whatever you want to do. You ought to be around here for committee meetings, doing something positive. But either way, we're gonna let you out at 11. But we work here on Saturdays and set our agendas for the week. All right, I want everybody to give. Last Saturday, we were at the Sheraton at the convention. We didn't raise the offering. We had to measure the movement, and I headed to the airport. And the youth had their youth forums and other workshops, and they ended with a big fashion show. I'd gotten me a new 3-piece suit to model, but I had to go to Charleston. So I had to put my 3-piece suit in the closet and wear it some other time. I was gonna show Ashley up. But they had Fashions for Justice. Oh, almost 700 young folk came. Really a successful convention. But my point was that we didn't raise an offering last Saturday. Now I'm gonna show you a good strategist. I ain't telling y'all, I'm telling my daughters. Dominic and Ashley, I'm gonna show you a good strategist. All morning, Mama T was hollering, screaming, even through me preaching. When I took the offering, she went in the bathroom. Don't tell me she got a strategy.
And I was the first person that did my
Come on.
envelope.
There she go. See, she heard everything I said.
I got money in the envelope.
She heard everything I said. I know she's listening now. Y'all sleeping on Mama T. Mama T, one of the best in the country. Come out of family ministers. No, she gonna give her money. Every time she here, she spend money to get here and give money. I want everybody to give the best of your ability. I need about 8 people, about 8, and give $100 or more to come quickly, about 8 people. Minister Winston Gilchrist, $100. Come on, I need some more hundreds. Alice Kelsey, I'm sorry, $100. Guardians, $100. Andrew, I know Andrew Beard well. And Andrew and I come along together, glad to see him, $100. Sister Eloise Barnes, $100. Give her a hand. Come on, I need some more hundreds. I need some more hundreds. All right, give me 50. If you don't have 150, you didn't give 50. Come on. Stephen Marshall, $50. All right, all right. All right. All right, Reverend Salton, Mildred Salton. All right. 50, 50, 50. Chris Dudley gave 50. All right, 20s, 20s, 20s. 20s. Esau getting that straight, huh? 20s, 20. All right. Now everybody, whatever you have, $1, $5, $10, whatever you have, come on.